Rise and shine, everyone. It is Friday, May 30th, the last day of the month. Wow, summer is here already almost. We have another great guest today as we are still recognizing Mental Health Awareness Month for May. We have Teresa Speigner, a licensed professional counselor with over 20 years of leadership in counseling, community service, and program management. Teresa is a licensed professional counselor and supervisor with a strong background in grant writing, public speaking, and health advocacy. She currently leads Medicare-related outreach for seniors and runs a private counseling practice, serving individuals from all walks of life, and I am very proud to call her my coworker and friend. She is passionate about breaking mental health stigma, building resilient communities, and ensuring underserved populations have access to care and support. Welcome, Teresa. Thank you so much for coming. You came before and talked about all things about the SHIP program, about Medicare, Medicaid, and you still do that.
I do.
And it's you do such a wonderful job.
Oh, thank you.
You do.
Thank you. I'll take that. Thank
yes.
you.
Well, you do. I tell everybody when I'm out and about, I'm always saying, well, she's the guru. You might want to have to ask her. I can just tell you what she does.
Well, I'll take that. I don't know about being the guru, but thank you so much.
You do.
Thank
You've helped
you.
a lot of folks, even people that I know you've helped, and the community appreciates that. But we're talking about Mental Health Awareness Month, and we actually had Fred and Kathy Boakley on my show earlier this month, and we've kind of celebrated Mental Health Awareness Month all month long. So when it comes to mental health, there's still a lot of silence around it. And why do you think there's so many people struggle to open up about what they're really feeling? I mean, there's so many people that don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I think and that's a great question, by the way. I think the biggest thing is stigma. You know, there's so much stigma attached to it. You know, we've been raised to not talk about things. And growing up, even as a child, you know, it was just, you don't talk about things. You don't talk about it.
Out of sight,
out of sight, out of mind.
You don't speak it, it's not existent.
It's not existence, absolutely. Right. So stigma is the biggest thing that we have got to learn how to overcome. And I'm so glad that we have this 1 month. You know, mental health is not just the month of May,
right,
but we do
24/7.
It's 24/7,
yes.
But it is at one time that we can bring more awareness
to
mental health and talk about it and make it
right.
okay to talk about it.
Yes, and we always ask, you know, how somebody's doing, and we're in the South, y'all. I mean, we do that a lot.
Absolutely,
how you doing?
absolutely.
How's your mama doing? How's everybody doing? Right?
Absolutely.
But we really don't expect an honest answer. We expect, because everybody always says, you know, well, I'm fine, and then they just smile and go on, right? So what do you think? We default by saying we're fine, and even when we're not.
I think what you just said, I think it's because it's just socially accepted. You know, most of the time when people ask you how you're doing, they really don't want to know. And so
isn't that crazy?
It is just, and then so we just revert to saying, oh, I'm okay, when deep down you really are not okay. And again, you know, I think the biggest thing about mental health awareness is making it be okay not to be okay.
Right.
And so a lot of times we just revert back to that, because if I told you everything that was going on with me, you really wouldn't want to hear it.
Right. Right. Just like the graphic says, it's okay to not be okay.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, maybe not to the person that asked you how you were doing so much, but because like you said, I mean, those most of the times just in passing, usually people really, they don't want to know. They're just doing that as a formality.
Absolutely.
Right.
And like you said, in the South, that's what we do. We
in the
speak
South,
and we ask everybody how they're doing, but we would be surprised at how people really are doing, because most people are not doing okay.
Right, right. And that's true. That's so sad, you know. And I do sports twice a week too, Jack State Sports News, and I know that even among your athletes and everything, it was so taboo a while back, and now because of awareness, they're even talking about it, and they have, like, more schools have initiatives and so forth for their athletes to talk about it, to be open when, you know, because there's so much pressure on them, and for them to be able to go somewhere to talk to somebody.
Absolutely.
So I think that's wonderful. So it's okay not to be
okay. It's okay not to be okay.
So
Absolutely.
you mentioned that mental health
Absolutely.
is something we don't always talk about. So what do you think prevents people from opening up about their struggles? I mean, and I know, like you said, in the South, I mean, fear of judgment, because
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm going to go ahead and say there's lots of folks that do that.
Absolutely.
Or maybe not knowing how to start the conversation with someone. I mean, we often hear people say things like, just push through it, you'll be okay, you'll be fine, especially when it comes to emotional or mental struggles. But what do you think that says about how we perceive mental pain versus physical pain?
Well, wow, that's a pretty loaded question there. That's a lot of questions. One thing is...
Because, I mean, and you know, because we work together.
Absolutely.
People always talk about their ailments. I've got the diabetes, I got this, I got that. And they're okay talking about their physical.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I'll go back to the judgment part. I think that that's the biggest thing is people don't talk about it for fear of being judged or being misunderstood. And so people keep that internalized and they don't talk about it, you know. And so so here we are, you know. There's that stigma, there's all that other stuff that kind of goes along with that as well. So if I talk about it, it makes me weak.
Well,
and it doesn't make you weak.
It doesn't, but I can see where people would
think that if I tell people that I'm having these struggles, it makes me weak. And so, but it doesn't make you weak, it makes you human.
Right.
Because we all have struggles.
And I think you're stronger by actually admitting and saying that you know, I mean, that takes a big person to say, hey, there is something going on with me. I need to talk to somebody. I mean, to me, that says a lot. I mean, not everybody has the courage to come up and say that.
That is absolutely correct. But again, you know, if I tell you that I'm hurting, then you're going to judge me. You know, there's this whole, and I hate to use the term crazy, but that's what people like to say.
That's what people say,
you know, people say, oh, you know, she just crazy, you know, and it's all in your head. And it's not in your head. When we talk about physical, yeah, if I have a broken bone, I can visibly see that I have a broken bone.
Right.
If I have diabetes, there are some visible things that shows that, and I go to the doctor because guess what? I'm not going to be judged for going to the doctor. The doctor is going to give me my medication, but the thing with mental illness is so much of mental illness is invisible. You know, if I'm depressed, if I'm sad, you know, if I'm dealing with those normal things, then people will look at me and say, there's something wrong with you. Like, why are you having a hard time? Why? I got through that just fine and it didn't bother me at all. Everybody's way of dealing is totally different.
And there's like people think there's like a stigma. And I've dealt with this personally within my own family. Well, if I come out and say that, that's going to be on my record and I don't need that to be on my, you know, and it's to me, it's just like having diabetes or something. It's still a medical, an issue that you're going through. I mean, you can't help. You know, I mean, you're like you said, you're human.
You're absolutely human, and we all deal with things, and we deal with things differently.
Right.
But that's why that conversation is so important. That's why we have to have the round table conversations.
Right.
That's why we have to have the conversations with family members, with friends. We have to be more in tune to when a person is kind of off. Right. You know, if you're an outgoing person, and I see that now you've become withdrawn, and whereas you're normally a very put together person, very organized, and now you can't stay focused, then as your friend, as your loved one, if I'm looking at that, I'm saying, hey, something is not, you know, quite right. And just having that conversation, you know, hey, is everything okay? You know, is there anything I can do? I'm here for you. Making it normal, just as normal as going to see a psychiatrist or counselor as it is going to see a doctor to get medication for diabetes or a broken arm. We have to normalize mental health just like we normalize physical health.
Right, and you know, I always use breast cancer as an example when I'm talking about Alzheimer's dementia, because that's another thing people don't want to talk about.
Absolutely.
And we're all about talking about things we don't want to talk about on this show. But you know, I tell everyone I compare it to breast cancer because, you know, at first when you heard so much about it, people didn't want to talk about it.
They didn't want to talk about it.
It was the C word, nobody wanted to talk about it. But then it took a group of women who said, let's go march on the Washington's, you know, doorsteps in Washington, D.C. and tell them we need free mammograms. I mean, it took their courage to march and to say we need to do something about it. And now guess what? It's talked about all the time. Yes. We even have a month to recognize that.
Absolutely.
So, and look how far research has come because all those ladies took a stand and said, hey, this is about our health and everything. And I think that with Alzheimer's, and especially with mental health, I think that's the kind of, I guess the way that we should take that as well, you know, to where we just, you know, let's just talk about it. Talk about it all the time.
Talk about it, absolutely.
Yes,
make it normal.
Make it normal to where there are more research. There are more people going to the doctor about the issues that you feel like you're having. Because and I hate to say this and bring up things, but like I said, we're going to talk about things that we don't want normally talk about.
Let's get uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable to talk about.
Absolutely.
But you see such a high suicide rate among not only adults but children.
Absolutely.
Young children. And like I said, when I've done sports, but doing sports, I found out that among college athletes, it's the #1 cause of death in college athletes. In college athletes, that's huge. And you would think, well, they would have nothing to worry about. They're in the limelight. They've got a free ride in college, and they're doing all this stuff, but it's not. It's they've got things that's going. It touches everyone.
It does. It does. And that's a really good point. And I think so many times we want to compartmentalize things or try to say, hey, this is this important, this is that important, but everybody, and I do mean everybody's dealing with something. Even me, you can look at me and I'm a mental health professional, been doing it for over 20 years.
But you're human.
But I'm human and I have my struggles. I deal with, the anxieties and the depression, the sadness. Everybody's going through things. And when we talk about mental health, it doesn't have to be something like bipolar or schizophrenia. People want to think about the really serious things, but the biggest mental health issues that we deal with a lot is depression and anxiety. Probably 90 to 95% of people are dealing with that. Yes.
And I'm not ashamed to say that, I have adult ADD, and adult ADD, one of the things is anxiety and stress and and time management and all these things and things that I've struggled with since I was a child, but didn't really know I had it until it really got worse as I got an adult, got to be an adult. And then when I went and saw somebody, I was like, look, I couldn't stand to be in my own skin.
Yes.
Like there's something going on here, but that doesn't make me less of a person, make you less of a person that you
Not
get
at all.
anxiety or depressed or anything. I think it just makes us normal, because I feel like every one of you out there probably deals with something at one point or another in your life. You've dealt with something. So we're going to continue this when we come back. Okay. So we're going to take a break and recognize our sponsors. And you are watching WEAC TV's 24's Rise and Shine program with the Alabama Cares program, and we will be right back.
I want to live. The leading cause of death of young Americans like me is gun violence, and oftentimes tied to substance misuse. NBA, NFL, NCAA, most of you look like me, and our communities need you now more than ever. Let's make I Want to Live more than just a hashtag. Let's make it a movement. I am a baller against bullets.
I'm Alan Parnell with Parnell Insurance Agency. We've been here in Oxford and Alabama, Tallapoosa, Georgia since 1990. With Auto Owners Insurance, we're able to give customers competitive pricing along with excellent coverages. Parnell Insurance can handle all of your personal, commercial, and life insurance needs. We have a very experienced staff, both personal and commercial. All together, we've got about 125 years experience. Come see what our insurance agency can do for you in Oxford, Alabama, and Tallapoosa, Georgia.
Auto Owners Insurance.
Hey guys, this is Blair Smith at Pediatrics Plus here in Anniston, located on Henry Road. I'm over here on the well side, but we do also have a sick side urgent care if you need us. We are more than happy to see you guys. Just come on, check us out if you get a fever, cough, or cold, or want to come in for a good checkup. Thank you.
Backus Bibles and Books is dedicated to providing churches as well as individuals with products and services geared towards strengthening every relationship with Christ. We specialize in Bibles, Bible imprints, Bible restoration, church supplies, home decor, gifts, and apparel. Call us at 256-201-1202 or visit us Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. at 1100 Highway Drive in Oxford, Alabama. We look forward to serving you, equipping the people of God to expand the kingdom of God.
Welcome back, everyone. You are watching Rise and Shine with the Alabama Cares program right here on WEAC TV 24, and it is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we have Miss Teresa, a licensed counselor, here talking with us today. And we were talking earlier about how you perceive emotional pain versus physical pain. Let's just go back to that just a little bit, about how we were talking about how we normalize physical pain because you can see it. So you can see somebody on a diet because they have diabetes, they can't eat sugar. You can see somebody, like you said, has a broken bone, or somebody that has a cold, or heart issues, or any of those things. But the whole thing with the mental health, you can't see that, and that's why it's so hard maybe to talk about it.
It is. It is. It's hard to talk about it, and it's hard for people to recognize it or admit that it exists. Because again, you know, as we said earlier, you look normal. You know, on the outside you look normal, but there's some internal struggles that are going on. Right,
and the emotional pain, I mean, that's huge to deal with, and I know, and especially for kids too. The emotional versus physical, because I mean, children really can't understand really what's going on internally yet because they're trying to process. They're still learning. So I imagine it's even harder for children, really. I mean, would you say yes or no? Or?
I would say sometimes that would be accurate. That would be an accurate statement. It is also hard for adults. You know,
well, and I'm not minimizing the adult, but I'm just saying, as children, I would just,
they don't have the vocabulary, they don't have the understanding,
and they don't
to be
have
able
the
to
maybe the, I guess the tools to deal with, you know, I guess how we deal with things. I mean, children, they don't have that yet, maybe because they haven't lived through enough, or as much as we have.
Absolutely.
Is what I'm saying. Yeah.
Or they haven't gone through those stages of development to develop those different skill sets that they need. So absolutely.
Wow. So we're learning a lot here today about mental health, about emotional pain versus physical pain. So we talked about all different kinds of situations where you can incorporate wellness into our daily routines to stay ahead of mental health struggles. Well, we were talking about mental health in everyday life, and so what are some things that we can do to incorporate wellness practices into our daily routines?
Well, you have to be intentional. You definitely have to be intentional, and it's a matter of finding that balance. You know, you've got to find a balance in your life. You know, you've got to take the time. You know, self-care is one of those ways that we can do it. Yeah, and a lot of times when people hear that, I remember even as a young lady, young girl, when I thought of self-care, we often thought about, oh yeah, go get your hair done, get your nails done, and those are all great. But that's not what we're talking about when we're talking about self-care. Self-care is one of those things that is necessary. You know, it's not selfish. It is necessary. It's something where you've got to take the time to reboot. You know, you got to take the time to, you know, set those boundaries. You know, set boundaries, whether that be, you know, in your personal life, your professional life, set the boundaries, and just taking that time so that you can pour back into yourself, so that you can pour back into others.
Empty.
And so that you're not empty, absolutely. You know, there's that saying, you can't pour from an empty cup, and that is so true. You know, after a while, if you keep giving, and you're not filling yourself back up, then you're going to find yourself in a state.
And it's okay to say no.
It is definitely okay to say no. No is a complete sentence, by the way. You know, I tell people all the time, no is a complete sentence. It doesn't have to be followed by anything else, and there should not be any guilt for that.
And I'm the world's worst about that, because, you know, people will ask me to do something or to help with something, and I feel bad if I don't. You know, so I mean, saying no, I always say, well, I'll feel bad if I say no, and then I find I have like 15 million things to do, and then I get, you know,
overwhelmed.
Yeah, I get overwhelmed, and anxiety gets in, and I start getting stressed out.
Absolutely.
And, you know,
Absolutely.
So we're all guilty of that for sure.
And that's a really good infomercial there, a little thing there about it's okay, you know, to make mistakes, because we're not perfect. We're not human. I mean, we're all human and we're not perfect. It's okay not to be okay. It's okay to have those hard days. You know, if you need your own space, you have to be able to recognize that. That's those boundaries. We got to learn to set boundaries with everybody. Feel feel those feelings, whatever you're feeling. If I'm sad, I'm sad. This is how I'm feeling. I'm angry, I am angry. You know, acknowledge those feelings and don't
ask
try
for help.
Ask for help.
Big
Oh my
one.
gosh, yes, ask for
How
help.
many people, and like we were talking about growing up in the South, y'all, about how, you know, because I see my grandmother do it, I see my mama do it, you know, they pour into everybody else around them, you know, but they don't want anybody's help. Well, I don't want to burden them, or, you know, well, you know, and working with caregivers, I tell them all the time, you know, when somebody says, oh, if I can help, just let me know. Call
Take
them.
it, yes, take it, absolutely.
okay.
It is okay. It is
Yes,
okay.
and it's okay not only to ask for help from your friends and from your family, but it's also to be okay to ask for help from your doctor, or to go to see someone like you.
Oh,
like
absolutely.
like a counselor,
Absolutely.
but it's okay. Yes. Wow, are you guys learning as much as I am? So, I guess another form of or type of self-help, I think, would be to go to the doctor, go to your appointments, because how many times, especially caregivers or people that are busy in everyday life because of your job or whatever, well, I don't have time to do that, or I've got to take care of my grandkids, I got to do this, I got to do that, you know, but if you don't take care of yourself.
Can't take care of anybody else. It's sort of like that on the airplane. Put your own mask on before you put somebody else's on.
Right, that's a good example.
You have to be able to do that, because if I'm struggling, I can't help you. If I can't breathe, then I can't help you.
That's a very good example. I'm gonna have to use that. That's a good one.
Yes.
So what are some common misconceptions people have about what mental health looks like?
Again, we go back to that stigma. You know, the stigma of what people think you're supposed to look like if you're having some mental health issues. But you know, as I said
Like
before,
Norman Bates on
that
old movie.
And don't get me wrong, I mean, we have some mental health issues that are severe. You know, you
Yeah,
have
we
the
do.
severe mental
Right.
health issues, but mental health is so common. You know, most of us have dealt with some type of mental health.
And we were talking about athletes, and then you also look at people that are in the news, like just your TV stars. I mean, it touches, I mean, I feel like all health issues, not just cancer or mental health, I think all, but especially I think it's very important for people to realize with mental health that there's no economic box
None
to put that
whatsoever.
in, no racial box, no, you know, whatever you do for no career, there's just, it touches everybody. Across age-wise,
Absolutely.
everything.
And it touches everyone that's connected to that person as
Oh,
well.
yes, that's a good point.
So
yes.
if I'm dealing with a loved one who's dealing with severe depression, then that's going to affect whether it's going to be the home wife, the work wife, you know,
That's a very good
communication, all of those things are going to be affected. So if that's off, it's going to throw everything within the family off as well.
Yes, and I always say too, you know, when I used to teach a wellness class for caregivers and for our older population, I would always say, you know, negativity creates negativity, and positivity creates more positivity. So if somebody is depressed all the time and down, and you're down and out, well, that person that lives with you is going to feel that.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it gives off.
Absolutely.
Yes. So,
Yes.
wow. So, you said the stigma. What does poor mental health impact? I mean, well, how does poor mental health impact like family, schools, and workplaces, just in as a whole?
As a whole, you know, back to what I said. I mean, if it affects one thing, it's going to affect everything else. If
Right.
I'm dealing with depression, or if I'm dealing with anxiety, I'm having issues staying focused, that's going to affect me at work. It's going to affect my
yes.
job performance, you
Yes.
know, which will have another 85% of workers report burnout or exhaustion. If you don't learn how to take that time to do the self-care and take care of yourself, then you're definitely going to go, you know, with the
Right.
burnout. And then when you're talking about school, You know, if the kids don't know, they don't have the socialization skills, they don't have all the skills that they need to, you know, it's going to affect grades, it's going to affect
Yes,
everything,
it will.
you know, and so it's going to affect,
And
it's just going to have
socialization.
socialization, right? So your family's communication, issues with communication, all of that's going to have a lasting impact, or it's going to affect everybody. It's not just that one person. Remember, it's not just the person that's going
Right.
through it that's going to deal with it. It's going to be everybody that's associated
And I'm
or
going to go
connected
ahead
to
and
that.
put a plug in for this, that I think it's very important to be kind. Kindness matters, because I think that, you know, especially in schools, kids can be
Very cruel.
very cruel. And you know, when I go out and teach in the schools, and I talk to them about just dementia and Alzheimer's, for example, I always tell them, you know, to be kind, because someone can't help that. Just like with that, someone that's depressed, they don't want to be depressed. They can't help that either. I mean, they
Absolutely.
don't. Who wants to, you know, wake up and say, I want to be depressed today? Nobody wants to do that. So I feel that kindness matters.
Kindness does matter. Unfortunately, everybody don't think that way, you know. But kindness does matter, and I tell people all the time, you don't know what people are going through.
Exactly.
Because again, I have this smile on my face, but on the inside, I'm just waiting to go home to
Put your
end my
PJs
life.
on, or
no, I'm saying some people are
sit in a
actually
dark hole
yes,
somewhere,
absolutely.
yes.
And but then the kids go to school and they're being ridiculed, or they're being talked about what they have on. And I
Yes.
mean, we all know, I don't know about you, but I had no say so in what clothes that my parents bought me growing up. And,
Right,
and it's the
'cause I didn't
same
make the
way.
money.
I didn't make the money. And so kids are dealing with that, you know, that stigma, the bullying. And so they go home, and when we talk about not having the capacity to deal with it, the coping skills, you know, if I have not been taught how to express my emotions, or I have not been
Right.
taught how to talk about that, that's where those faulty coping skills come into play.
That's a very good
and so,
point.
and that's where the counseling, you know, talking to someone can be so helpful, because
Right.
they can help you to develop
It's
those
okay
healthy.
to be angry.
It
It's
is very
how
okay.
How
Absolutely.
you are angry that matters.
Absolutely.
Right? There's
Absolutely.
ways to be angry.
So when we talked about feelings, like, you know,
Right.
we talked about emotions, owning what those emotions are. I'm angry. Guess what? I'm human. I'm supposed to
And
be
it's
angry.
okay to
and
be
it's okay to
angry.
be angry. It is okay. It's not okay to punch somebody, or
Right,
you know,
right.
punch a wall, but it's okay for me to be upset. It's okay for me to be happy. It's okay for me to be sad. And so being able to express those feelings are so important. And so that's where healthy counseling comes in, and is
Right.
that a person, you can go to see a person, and they can help you to develop those skill sets to help you to deal with things
Right.
a
And we're
little
going
better.
to show Ms. Teresa's information later on, I promise. So if you need to talk to her or call her. But we're going to take a short break. So we are going to go and recognize our sponsors.
Okay.
So make sure to join us right back here. You're watching Alabama Cares Rise and Shine on WEAC TV 24, and we'll be right back.
The weather is warming up and spring is just around the corner at Miller Sand and Landscape Supply. I'm Craig Miller, and we've got something for everyone. From bulk materials like sand, gravel, and mulch to beautiful outdoor decor to make your outdoor living space the envy of the neighborhood. See our beautiful selection of Mazzarelli fountains, flowers to brighten your garden, and an outdoor center loaded with beautiful decor. Whether you need a little or a lot, visit Miller Sand and Landscape Supply.
Hey, this is Jason at Reeves Insurance. Just want to say a quick thank you to all of our customers for your support over the years. We now have offices in Anniston, Alexandria, and Oxford in order to serve you better. So stop in and see me or any of our experienced staff and let us shop for you. We'll find you the best price and the best coverage available. Thank you.
The Civilian Marksmanship Program, also known as CMP, is a national organization dedicated to training and educating U.S. citizens in responsible uses of firearms and air guns through gun safety training, marksmanship training, and competitions. Their vision is to lead the nation in marksmanship excellence, providing safe, high-quality, and innovative programs with a focus on youth. For more information about the CMP and upcoming events, visit thecmp.org.
Welcome back, everyone. You are watching WEAC TV 24 Rise and Shine with the Alabama Cures program. And it is Friday, and I have Miss Teresa here. And you know, you've been on my show before, so it's Friday.
Yes.
And that means we have to do the Friday dance. It's Friday. It's Friday.
Oh,
it's
I
Friday.
don't know if I know that dance. There, you're gonna have to.
You can.
I'm gonna have to look
it's not
on
that
at
early
this
in the
one.
morning.
I may have to look on at that one, Ellen. I don't know about that. You know, you kind of throw me out there.
Especially since we're talking about mental health. We have to be all happy about it because we're trying to make sure that people don't have a stigma about or attach a stigma, so to speak, when talking about mental health issues and how important it is. And why do you think, you know, we've been talking about schools and work and all different things like churches, everything in the public eye about how they have that stigma sometimes on mental health. And why should leaders and organizations invest in mental health, do you think?
Well, you know, it's not just a necessary thing, but it's a good business decision.
I agree.
If I have employees who are mentally okay, I'm going to get better productivity.
Yes.
You know, you're not going to have the constant absenteeism. So and then support, the emotional support. If you make it okay for your employees to, first of all, encourage them to take time off from work. That's why we get time off from work. You know, sometimes people don't like to take that time off because, you know, the first thing you say is, if I take off, I'm going to get behind in work. But the problem is, I know it. I know it. I think we all are. But at the end of the day, you've got to go back to that pouring into that. Can't pour from an empty cup. And that's one of the perks of having a job. Those are things that you earn.
And I will say this. I tell my team, I tell the girls that work with me, I tell them sometimes like, hey, Friday, I'm taking a mental health day.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm not going to be here. You guys can handle it. You know, but sometimes you just have to.
You do.
Just to recharge.
You do. And it goes back to that self-care. You know, when we talked about how can you ensure that you're taking care of yourself, you've got to do those. You've got to do those boundaries. You've got to pour back into yourself. You've got to do a reset. And whatever that looks like for you, if it means taking a day off, if it means taking a week off, you know, I promise you won't get that far behind, you know, by taking a day off because it is necessary. But if more the leaders and organizations, if you put more into that and make it okay, back to that, it's okay not to be okay. So take some time to regroup and, you know, get yourself back to where you need to be.
And I'm a supervisor at work, and I think that by recognizing those things, because I hope I do, you know, when someone comes to me and say, you know, I've been having a hard time. I really, you know, is it okay? You know, and I'm like, of course it's okay. You know, this work will be here when you get back here. It's still going to be here, you know, but I want you to be okay. Because like you said, I know for a fact that if you give that person that time off, if you let that person recharge and have some me time, sometimes that's all it takes, even if it's just for a day, maybe 2 days, whatever. But when they come back, they're refreshed, they're okay, and they can focus more. Like you said, I mean, the productivity is a whole lot better when somebody is mentally okay. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So breaking the stigma, what are some harmful things we say without realizing it? Because I know there's harmful things in saying in every little category, like with dementia and Alzheimer's that I work in, and I know with this is the same. So what are some of those?
Well, I think probably the worst thing that people can say is, it's okay. It's all in your head. That's the worst thing, is to tell someone that it's all in their head. You know, it's all in your head. You'll get over this. You know, it's not that bad. You know, just get over it. It's not that bad. So that goes back to that stigma. So I'm not going to tell you what I'm going through if you're going to tell me that. But the best thing to do is to say, hey, I hear you. I'm here for you. You know, let me listen to what you have to say. May not be able to help you, but at least I can listen, and I won't pass judgment.
Right.
You know, and that's the beauty of counselors also. You know, there's no judgment there.
Right.
There's no, you know, you shouldn't have done that, and you know what, just put your big girl underpanties on, and you can go on. You can handle this. But one thing I always tell people, if someone comes to you and they say, I'm having a hard time, I don't want to hear you'll be okay.
Right.
Because I am coming to you. I am telling you I'm not
okay.
I'm not okay.
Right.
And then what it does is it almost like it just discounts everything that I've said to you, because now you're telling me that my feelings don't matter.
And you know what's big to somebody else is maybe not be a big deal to us.
Absolutely not going to be big to you.
And I think I can speak this, and correct me if I'm wrong, but especially with children, I feel like, you know, if a child, you know, a teenager or whatever breaks up with their boyfriend, they think, you know, some of them, sometimes, I mean, it's serious. They think it's the end of the world. And to us, we're like, oh, you know, 16 years old, what do you know, blah, blah, blah. You know, but to them in that moment, it is the end of the, I mean, like, it's like, right, it's very important. And I think it's very important for us to realize that in that moment, what may not be important to us is all the world to them. And
absolutely,
like you said,
absolutely.
Yes.
And you know, and I'm glad that's a really good point that you said, because I can remember back being a teenager, having my first breakup, and I thought it was the end of the world.
Right.
You know, as an adult looking back, it wasn't the end of the world. But as a child, I didn't know that.
Yeah. What do you know when you're 16?
But as an adult, I can look at how it happened to me, and instead of me saying, "Why are you sitting there crying about that? This is no big deal," you can at least have a little empathy,
right?
And say, "Hey, you know, I dealt with that, and you know, I can empathize. This is how I felt," and not discount and dismiss their feelings.
Yes.
Right? Acknowledge that and let them feel what they're feeling, because they're hurting.
And you know, I had a little kid tell me one time, this warmed my heart. I'm gonna try not to cry, but I had a little kid one time that talked to me and said, "Well, I feel comfortable talking to you, Miss Ellen, because you listen to me."
Oh wow, that's pretty deep there now.
And coming from a 9-year-old, you know, and I mean, that broke my heart, because I thought, well, you've got parents, you've got, you know, but I didn't discount, you know, dismiss his feelings because I listened to why he felt that way. And I think that's so important to do with, you know, adults too, but especially with children, because children always feel like they're second to everybody anyway, because what do they know? They're just kids kind of thing, right? So when you listen to them, and I know you go through this a lot, being a counselor, and see this a lot, to have a kid actually be able to open up to you because you actually care about what they really feel, and like you said, not just dismiss their feelings like, you'll get over that. That's nothing. You know, you're just 9 years old, or
right,
you know what I mean?
Right. You haven't even lived yet. You don't know what you're going through.
Yeah,
you know,
that's not. Yeah, exactly. I mean, and here's some. Is this some the statistics?
It is some statistics. Just talk about 1 in 5 adults experience mental illness each year. That's a pretty high number. If you take a look at 1 in 5 adults, and then 1 in 20 experience serious mental illness. 50% of mental illness begins by the age of 14.
Oh,
you know,
wow.
And we're talking, and like I said, you know, anxiety and depression is on the rise amongst kids around 14 years old.
And look at that last
suicide,
statistic.
yes, suicide, second leading cause of death.
It's heart-wrenching.
You know, when you don't have the coping skills, and the only thing that you know how to do is most teenagers, they want to end it all. But you know, I tell people all the time, suicide, death is final.
It's very final.
It's final. And so before
and you have
we get
a purpose.
there,
everybody has a purpose. That's why you're here.
That's why we're here.
Everybody has a purpose. You may not have found your purpose yet. You still got to keep on keeping on.
At 10 to 14 years old, we're still looking for that purpose.
Yeah, right. Yep. So, wow. And we talked a little bit about how we can support someone without judgment, and that was like not to dismiss.
Not to dismiss. Listen. Make it okay for them to talk to someone. Don't try to fix them. Don't try to say,
that's a big one.
Hey, I'm going to fix this right here. If someone actually comes to you for help, listen. And if it's outside of your expertise, and say, hey, I don't know what to do, but I want to get you some help.
Right.
Let's start by calling
Right.
someone so that you can talk to it. That's the first steps, I believe, is to getting some help, is to make it normal, make it okay, listen, be that person. If someone chooses you to be, I tell people all the time, find you a person
Right.
that you can go to. If you call someone and they're not your person, then you need to get you a different person.
Right,
so,
right.
what's that? Over half of the people with mental illness, I can't read. Like, I can't even see today. Don't recover. Don't receive help due to that stigma. Back to what we talked about, that whole
Right.
stigma. People just don't go seek help because
And
of that stigma.
what you said too, it's okay. Just like people do that with doctors. I mean, shop around for doctors. If they don't jive with that doctor, you go to another
Absolutely.
doctor.
Absolutely.
Same way with a counselor.
Same
I'm
way
sure.
with counselor. I tell people all the time, all personalities don't jive.
That's
you know,
right.
they clash. I would rather someone say, hey, you know what, we're just not meshing. Can you refer me to somebody
recommend
else?
someone.
I would prefer to do that than you just saying, I don't want counseling. A lot of times people will stop counseling because sometimes in counseling we are faced with some hard things and you kind of have to, address some things that
Some
you really
forks in the road.
Absolutely. And then there's some things you don't want to admit. And so sometimes when you're faced with that, people will stop because
Right.
change is not easy.
Change is very hard.
Change is not easy,
But
and especially.
but you have to talk about it.
You
I
have
think
to.
To get over those humps, because once you're already maybe almost halfway there just by saying that you need help in the first place and actually going to counseling, because I think that's a huge step because so many people don't do that. So I think that and like I said, we talk about things that we don't like to talk about on this show sometimes.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
I think that to have some reflection on yourself and to look at yourself within and have somebody else help you do that, that's going to do nothing but help you.
Absolutely.
Help you. So recognizing some of the signs of mental health struggles, what signs do you think often get overlooked?
I think just those subtle signs. Again, if I'm outgoing, I go to work every day, you look at me from the outside and you say I don't have any problems, but I'm struggling internally. I'm struggling with, I don't want to go to work, but I push myself through.
Right.
So those are some of the signs that are usually like just the normal things, like, again, I think I said earlier, if I'm normally outgoing and I'm more reserved, those are some signs that say, hey, you know what, Teresa's kind of, she's kind of off. She's normally more outgoing, she's normally more talkative. What's going on? Or if I'm just kind of off and I'm so organized, but now you come to my house and everything is just, my house is not clean. I've got things all over the place because I go to work, I put on this face in front of everybody, but when I come home, I close my door, I lock up, and I'm there behind those closed doors and nobody knows. I'm not eating, I'm not bathing, I'm not doing those things. Those are things when you have someone that's your person, that's close to you, should be able to say, hey, something's kind of off.
And social media, I think, plays so much into depression and everything as well, especially with children too, because what we see on what you see on Facebook, people, is not everyday real life.
You mean to tell me that that's not all true?
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
and the things is like I post on Facebook and everything too, and sometimes I post things that are not good that's going on, but for the most part, you just post your
good stuff.
highlights.
Absolutely.
And we'll talk a
Absolutely.
little bit about more of that in our last segment, but we're going to go. I'm sorry, but we have to go
Gotta
for
pay
our
the bills.
sponsors already. So you are watching the Alabama Cares Rise and Shine program right here on WEAC TV 24. We'll be right back.
On average, a tow truck operator is killed every 6 days in the United States. A tragic, yet preventable event. The fact is, most people don't know what it's like being a tow truck operator. The dangers that occur while servicing a roadside vehicle are real. However, you can make a difference to help lower this statistic and save lives by simply slowing down and moving over. This simple task can prevent an unnecessary death and allow workers to make it home to the families waiting for them. After all, it's the law in all 50 states, for good reason. Do your part so they can live another day and be there for you when you need them. Move over. Their lives don't belong to you.
Backus Bibles and Books is dedicated to providing churches as well as individuals with products and services geared towards strengthening every relationship with Christ. We specialize in Bibles, Bible imprints, Bible restoration, church supplies, home decor, gifts, and apparel. Call us at 256-201-1202 or visit us Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. at 1100 Highway Drive in Oxford, Alabama. We look forward to serving you, equipping the people of God to expand the kingdom of God.
I want to live. The leading cause of death of young Americans like me is gun violence, and oftentimes tied to substance misuse. NBA, NFL, NCAA, most of you look like me, and our communities need you now more than ever. Let's make I Want to Live more than just a hashtag. Let's make it a movement. I am a baller against bullets.
Good morning, everyone. You're watching WEAC TV, Rise and Shine with the Alabama Cures program. We are back with Miss Teresa. We have been talking. This has been a good show, and if you guys missed the first 3 segments of the show, you need to go back. You need to go to WEAC TV 24 on our Facebook page, or you need to go to YouTube, Roku, Fire Stick, all the things. You can go back and you can watch. You can watch any of our shows, but today's a really good one. It's Mental Health Awareness Month, even though it is the last day of the month.
It is.
We're still going to talk about it. Hopefully, we'll talk about it past May 30th. Let's not just keep talking about it just in May. So we were talking about the stigmas of mental health and how people don't want to talk about it. And, we talked a little bit about what to do, what not to do, and how do you approach someone that you're concerned about? Like we talked about how, to recognize those signs is saying, hey, you know what, they're not as bubbly as they used to be, or they're not as organized, like what's going on. How do you approach somebody that you're concerned about? What would I
would say the best way to do it is just with empathy and concern. Let that person know that you're there. Whether it's just to listen. And again, I don't have the answers. I'm not trying to fix you. I just want you to know that I'm here for you.
That's a big one. I'm not trying to fix you.
Because that's what we all want to do that. We want to fix everybody. And let me say this, even within counseling, we don't fix people. I know a lot of times I tell people from the beginning, I don't have a magic wand or
would that be nice?
Ball.
Or if you could just move your nose
absolutely,
like
because
Genie.
I would fix some things in my own life if I could do that. But that's the important thing, is to let people know that I'm not here to judge you. I'm not here to fix you. I'm here to listen. What can I do? Just be empathetic.
Right.
And just show the concern. Sometimes just showing that concern is all that person needs to get, further help or to open up and talk about what's going on.
And we talked about creating a supportive community and everything. And what's one small thing someone can do to help build a supportive culture around them?
I think I'm going to keep going back to the whole just being there for someone, the empathy, and just
not trying to fix anybody.
Not trying to fix anybody.
Just saying,
I think
I'm here for you.
That's the biggest thing is just letting them know that you're there for them. And when someone knows that they have that support, then I'm more apt to talk about what's going on.
And we talked a little bit during a break about that too. Right before we went to break, we talked about social media and how everything on the internet is not true, folks.
Yeah,
not while some of it is true as far as what people post or whatever, like we were talking about behind all that, you don't know if there's domestic violence going on in situations. You don't know what kind of mental health issues are going on, how someone feels. They might be posting all that to put up this facade so that nobody else would judge them, kind of thing, so they won't have a stigma. But we talked about this before we started the show this morning about how we're in the South. I mean, we're in the South. There's a church on every corner, y'all. All different kinds of denominations. And the old school way too, if you grew up here in the South in the church, is that you just really didn't talk about that.
Didn't talk about it.
I mean, I remember that. People that have depression, they'll get over it. They just have to pray about it. And we talked about that. And there's nothing wrong with prayer. I still want y'all to pray, because one can never have too many of those.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you on that.
One can never have too many of those. And if you don't, or if you're not a religious person, whatever you believe in, I mean, I'm not putting that down either, because that's your right. But in our society, in the religious society, I think it's very important for pastors and for the leaders in the church to be able to be there to say, hey, it's okay to talk with me.
Absolutely.
It's okay to deal with whatever you're dealing with, and I'm here for you. But it's also okay to tell them that they need to go see somebody.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Don't you think?
Absolutely, and I totally agree with that. And you know, you would not tell if I came to you, and I'm gonna go back to the whole physical part. If I came to you and said I broke my arm, you're not gonna tell me to pray about it, it'll get better.
Right.
You're gonna tell me to go to the doctor and let a doctor set that arm.
That's a good example,
or
yeah.
redo anything like that. So I think, again, the whole normalcy, I'm gonna keep saying it over and over again, we have to make it normal. Even within our churches, we have to make it normal to have that conversation.
Right, 'cause
we
we're
have to make it
people.
normal. We're people.
Right.
We have to make it normal to say, you know, I agree with you. Prayer is great. You know, I pray. You know, everybody doesn't, you know, pray. That's what, that, like you say, that's what you do. That's what you do. But we have to also go beyond that. You know, and we have to say it is okay to not be okay, and let's get you where you need to be.
Okay. Yes, I agree. See, it's okay. It's okay not to be okay.
Okay, not to be okay. That's going to be the favorite
That's
thing.
a really good graphic,
hey, yeah,
I think.
I love that, yeah.
And how do we shift from awareness to action? Because we talked all about, you know, being aware and making sure that we're there for everybody. But how do we shift the awareness to action?
So awareness is the first step.
Yes.
And we're making you aware today.
Yeah, we're doing this today.
Awareness, and then action is the key. How are you going to put into action? So talk about it and make your mental health a priority.
Right.
You know, you have to make your mental health a priority. You can't let other people make your mental health a priority. You have to be able to recognize, back to what I said before, setting those boundaries, taking care of yourself, making sure that you're doing those things. If I need to go talk to someone, let me go talk to someone.
Right.
You know, and you know, and the beauty of things now is, if your life, and I know we all get busy, and you may say, hey, I don't have time to go talk to someone. Guess what? You can talk over the computer now. You don't have to leave the comfort of your own home.
There's all kinds of really neat like support groups and stuff.
There's
that
a
you
lot
can,
of support
you can Google
groups,
support
yes.
groups, mental health support groups online, where you can turn your little camera off and you can be anonymous. And there's people from all over the United States, so it's not somebody like, you know, in the South, so people won't be knowing your business.
And you know,
that's the beauty of that.
That's a good thing, because sometimes people don't want to go because you're from a small town.
Right.
Maybe you don't want everybody knowing that you're going through things.
Right.
And so you can find you a therapist that don't even he or she doesn't have to live in your city.
Right.
And you can do virtual sessions. You don't
Isn't that
have
great?
to do the
virtual-
traditional.
Do you do virtual
I
sessions?
do virtual sessions.
Well, let the audience know how to get in touch with you. Like if they needed to, if they wanted to talk
If
to
they
Miss
want
Teresa.
to talk to Miss Teresa,
Yeah. What do they need to do?
So my number is area code 256-438-4152. The name of my counseling practice is Transitions Counseling Services.
Transitions Counseling Services, and they can Google that too.
They can.
Transitions Counseling Services.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Wow, that was a mouthful.
That's a mouthful. It is a mouthful.
But call Miss Teresa. If you don't want to call her, you can also Google, I'm sure.
Absolutely, you can Google.
Licensed counselors in your area. And if someone is watching right now that is struggling, and I know there probably will be somebody out there, what would you say to them right now? I mean, what would you say to them?
If you're struggling, you are not alone. Get help. You know, that's the first step, is to get help. When you recognize that, get help.
Right.
Don't be afraid to seek help.
Right. And that's very important.
It is.
So what is your personal hope for how our culture approaches mental health in the future? Like the future, what would the future look like?
If I had that magic ball and I could make everything be the way, I think my personal hope would be that the stigma is gone.
Right.
You know, the stigma behind mental health is gone, and it's okay. We normalize taking care of your physical health. Your physical health just as well as your mental health. You know, World Health Organization has a thing that says there's no physical health without mental health.
Right.
And that's very important. So I think just making the awareness known.
Right.
And just normalizing it, and getting rid of the stigma to make it okay to not be okay.
Okay, and let's find her number again for Miss Teresa. If you want to talk to Miss Teresa, or that's her information right there, Transitions Counseling Services. You're in Gadsden.
I am in
That's-
Gadsden.
And that's her phone number. But you don't have to live in Gadsden
No.
to go see Miss Teresa. You can live anywhere.
No,
but that's
not
her
anywhere.
information.
You have to live in the state of Alabama.
Well,
I'm
anywhere
only licensed in
within
the state of Alabama.
yes, but you don't
correct.
have to live in Etowah County or
Absolutely.
Gadsden alone, correct? So, and I think it's very important for the audience to realize too that normalizing what you're talking about is normalizing the talking about.
The talking about it, yes.
Because we want to make sure that you know it's not a normal thing, so to speak, to have. It's okay to have all these feelings, but you want to feel normal.
You want to feel normal.
You want to feel normal, and that's what you're talking about.
Yes.
That you're wanting everyone to normalize the talking and the awareness and all of that. And I think, you know, like with breast cancer, for instance, I keep going back to that, but that's a good example, I think, is breast cancer is not normal per se, but it's normal to talk about
It's
it
normal
now.
to talk about, yes.
Whereas used to, it was not. Nobody wanted to talk about it.
Taboo. Nobody wants to talk
nobody
about
wanted
that.
to talk about it. And I think that is kind of how this is too, with so many other things that we've talked about in the past on our show.
Yeah.
But you know, that's what we're here for. We're here to talk about the things that nobody wants to talk about. And it's so very important for everybody to feel like they're a part of the community and part of whatever it is, their school, their work, and everything. And you can't be fully a part of that if you don't take care of yourself.
You got to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And I think another thing is be proactive.
Yep.
Let's not be reactive. If you see that you're struggling with some of these struggles, let's be proactive. Let's go ahead and talk to someone. Let's make the phone calls. You know,
Right.
let's reach out to someone.
Just like with health,
Just like with health.
proactive.
Be
You have your
proactive.
mammograms and all your screenings, your colonoscopies, and all that kind of stuff. So being proactive in mental health is very important as well, because to prevent,
To prevent, absolutely.
right, to prevent things. So I believe that as well. This has been a very interesting show, and like I said, if you guys missed the first part of the show, please make sure that you go back on WEAC TV 24 on the Facebook page, or go to YouTube or any of the other forums that we're on, like Roku, Fire Stick, Apple, all that good stuff, and go back and watch it, because I think it's very, and share it. I mean, please share it.
Please.
Share it with friends. I mean, if you see it on the Facebook page or on YouTube, please share it with everyone that you know. Share it with your church folks. Let them know how important it is to have that conversation within, you know, your community right there in the church. I think that's very important.
I totally
With
agree with you.
with your parish, to talk to them about it as well. Are there any other things that you would like anybody to know out there about mental health?
Ooh, I think we've covered,
quite a lot
of stuff, so I can't think of anything off the top of my head here. So,
We've covered
yes.
a lot, but I do want to remind the audience too that we do have our community health series that comes up every month. In May, we actually had Mental Health Awareness Month, where we had someone come talk to us about that. In June, they've got the dates up there, June, and they're all at the Oxford Civic Center, and it's a free event. We have free vendors that give out goodies. We have free door prizes, and y'all, door prizes are really good too. But it's a great way to come. This June is Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month, and we actually are going to have it's Blood Donor Month as well. So we actually have the bus out there to donate blood.
Oh, awesome.
And then we have Bill Curtis from the Alzheimer's Association is going to come and talk to us about a healthy brain and how a healthy brain helps a healthy body. And he's also going to talk about the latest in research, and there's a lot of new stuff going on in research. So every month is a different subject, and we really would like for you to come and be a part of that. And I tell folks all the time, I mean, you don't have to make an appointment to come see these experts that come speak every month. And you don't have to pay a fee like when you have to go see an attorney, because we have attorneys that come sometimes too. So there's somebody there that you can ask questions. July we have Children's Month. August we have Carl Bates is coming.
Awesome.
From the Better Business Bureau to talk about fraud, scams, and identity theft. So we've got a lot of good shows coming up. So make sure that you join us for that. And make sure that you join us every Friday right here at 7:30. And you can always go back and watch it on our Facebook page as well. So make sure that you watch the show every Friday. We have different speakers. And I just really glad that you came today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I think this is a perfect opportunity to bring the awareness, even though we're at the end of the month. Just remember that mental health and mental awareness.
Right, and at the end of the month, we're just kind of pushing it a little bit further along to let everybody.
Just to remind them that it's still, just a reminder, it's still very important.
And you matter. You matter. Make sure that you know that. I want all of you to know that you matter to me.
Absolutely.
Please make sure that you go talk to someone if you need to. There's nothing wrong with it. There's no stigma there at all, right?
None whatsoever. We're breaking the stigma.
That's right. We're breaking it. And we appreciate you so much for watching us today. And watch us every Friday right here on WEAC TV 24. We hope you have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next Friday.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.